podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our quick publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms, and we have our own apps for Apple and Android. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello and welcome to your post-match Raw and Anfield Index Pro, podcasting to you from my field here in beautiful rural Ireland. I'm Trev Downey, and joining me to give their immediate reactions to Liverpool 3, Sheffield United 1 in the Premier League from Anfield are Dave Hendrick and Hari Sethi. Not exactly the way you'd want to be spending a Thursday evening in some ways, Dave, in terms of there was a little bit too much tension for my liking. And yet, as we said the last day, each and every one of these is probably going to be like this. The nature of having to play last as well was a big ask. Yes, there was sloppiness. Yes, I suppose we can forgive a lot of it. And yes, the only thing that matters is that 3-1 scoreline.
Yeah, the only thing that matters is that we won. Nothing else is of any relevance. As long as we win our games, we will win the league. And that's just the approach we have to take. And it doesn't matter if it's 3-1, 5-1, 1-0 with one gunning off somebody's arse. It doesn't matter. We just need to win. Now, we could do it not making it as hard on ourselves as we have in the last two games. Like, that'd be really good. We could do it waking up at the first whistle and not allowing teams big opportunities. Brighton scored on us within 2 minutes. Sheffield United could have done the same thing tonight. We need to get a little bit sharper because, you know, we've got 8 finals left, really. And we've also got to contend with the Europa League. Now, that'll get us used to the Thursdays. So, you know, we'll be joyous come 3 Thursdays from now. But the win is the win, and that's all that really matters.
Yeah, hard to see past that, Harry. And yet, you know, we do have to sit through these things. And like Dave says, it is a fair point. Like, none of the three of us, just in case anyone's getting the wrong idea from the off here, none of the three of us are going to be going down any mad negative roads tonight because we're top of the table and the win was got. And literally that's all any of us care about. But it was, as Dave says, it was more difficult than it felt it should have been. These have an absolutely atrocious record. They did seem to be beaten psychologically after their little early minute one effort. They did seem to be beaten psychologically, and it did feel as if we were sort of allowing them back in with some of our sloppiness, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dave's right. I mean, the results are all that matters now for the next 8 of these. But I think usually on the rival recon pods, whenever I have a guest on, not that I necessarily like go out of my way to do it, but I've had certain listeners say to me, like, "Oh, it's nice how you convince the guests that they've got a chance, etc., etc." I'm not trying to do that, but I think I'd got to the end of the Sheffield United pod, like, great guest, and I was like, "Oh yeah, you know what? Maybe they'll really give it their all." I then listen to Scouted, and I hear Dave and Carl eviscerate this team and the manager for about 30 minutes. Rightfully so, I think, like, all based in fact in terms of the historic levels or lack of their performances this season. Much to my chagrin to see us allow them into the game like that, just by letting it drift, but be a bit careless on the ball. A couple players, maybe certainly Graver will come on to talk about, hadn't played for a while. Looked like he hadn't played for a while, just disappointing to not see us be ruthless. I thought even some of the tactical choices to invert Joe certainly was a bit of a weird one. And the second we did start playing with some width, like, lo and behold, it seemed to come a bit easier to us in the end. But yeah, I think the win immensely satisfying. As you know, Trev, on these pods, like, my own personal battle, like, and just reveling in the it's the hope that kills you tweets from the North London contingent, who of course are all watching along as well. The benefits of a goal, a strike that violent from Mac Allister, who's clearly one of the nicest men on that pitch. Immensely satisfying to see. And I think the only negative is I've just looked across at the fixtures to see Manchester United have had the audacity to get themselves ahead against Chelsea, but we'll see how that clown show finishes as well.
That's the way to. It's funny, isn't it? It's actually. No, it's not funny. It's actually very pleasing to look across and see stuff like that. And it's such an afterthought. It's like, oh, did they do that? Yeah, I couldn't give a shit, really. It's just, it's incidental. And all I could think was, well, if it softens Chelsea's cough, that's great, whatever.
Really, two drunk fellas swing, Trev, to be honest, I have to say, and to see that kind of performance, like as an FA Cup tie, extra time from 10 minutes in, yeah, remarkable. Very satisfying.
It's just wonderful, though, that like we all spent years and years watching United and Chelsea go toe-to-toe at the top of the table.
Oh, yeah.
And now this is a rip-roaring battle between 12th place Chelsea and 6th place United, two hopeless teams who've spent absolute fortunes to be really, really shit. Congrats to both.
Yeah, it's like, it's tremendous, like Harry says, sort of two drunk ball lads fighting over a comb. Nobody gives a shit, lads. All the best. Hopefully one of you will fall over and we can laugh. That's basically where we're at with it. And if, by the way, if that seems somewhat hubristic or just a bit unnecessarily nasty, I couldn't give a shit. For so many years we had to endure them being absolutely snide, superior and dismissive, and so every single second that occurs to me to take the piss out of Manchester United or Chelsea for that matter, oh, you can bet I'm going to do it. Let's get back into our regularly scheduled content, and before we start our show tonight, a quick reminder to everybody that shows like Raw, which inevitably go on longer than 50 minutes, in the case of Raw, quite often twice that. You know, what can we do except say sorry in advance, but also not sorry. Shows like this, of course, are going to get cut off after the half-hour mark. If you are availing of the freeness that is part of the Anfield Index package. If you would like to hear the shows in full, most of them are longer now, and most of them, given some of the content that we have, given some of the quality of podcasters that we have, are kind of unmissable. I would say to you that it's very well worth your while, $4.99 a month, for the love of God, between now and whenever, signing up and joining the cool kids. If you want to get a year's, it's €40. You save yourself some money that way. And again, 40. What is that in the bigger scheme of things? Have a think. When you're finished thinking, make a decision. Make sure that decision is to be part of the cool kids on AI Pro. Join the club. You'll be happy you did. Hopefully, we'll be following along here to watch the Reds all the way through to lifting 2 more pots this season. That is the objective. That is the hope. And Dave, when you saw the team that Kloppo went with this evening, it probably, I think, surprised one or two to see Konate playing, but then every decision around Konate at the moment seems to be a little bit surprising. So when you have Konate and Van Dijk, you're already confident. Bradley and Gomez are not going to let anybody down, we think. We hope, we assume in advance, and they've done enough to prove that, to be fair. Mac Allister, Szoboszlai and Gravenberch definitely did have many eyebrows flying towards lofty areas of the ceiling and sky, and Salah, Núñez and Diaz surprised nobody. So on the bench then we have obviously Curtis coming back, which is great to see, and his little contribution, tremendous to watch. Gakpo coming in to be involved in a positive way is lovely. Elliott coming in to be involved in a positive way is lovely, although I think an awful lot of us thought he would have got a start. Tsimikas, Robertson, who also came on and contributed very well. Clark, Dans and Kwanzaa. None of those kids will let you down either. It's a much stronger, healthier looking Liverpool squad at the moment, Dave. Did you, without the benefit of hindsight, did you think it was surprising to see the Dutchman join the midfield, or were you absolutely expecting to see him get some minutes at some stage, and this being the most likely one for him to get them?
Just before I get on to that, Trev, you forgot to give people the code. If people, when they're signing up for the annual fee, put in the code Hendrick25, you pay 25% more, and all of that money comes to me. So, no,
that's a stitch up. How come I didn't think of this shit?
Gravenberch. Yeah, no, I was a little bit surprised. But if you're going to bring him back in for a game, this was going to be the game, because this is the weakest team that we're going to play between now and the end of the season. My concern was less him individually and more him, Alexis, and Dominic as a midfield, because we saw Gravenberch and Dominic together early in the season and it never worked, because they both want to be on the ball and dominate the ball, and they both slow the game down a little bit. Dominic slows it down and then speeds it up. Gravenberch just slows it down. So it can just disrupt our rhythm a little bit. I probably would have been more comfortable with Alexis, Gomez and Gravenberch starting in midfield, even though I know Joe would be out of position. I think he's done okay when being used in that role. But the rest was as expected. I didn't think Ibu would start, to be totally honest. I thought Kwanzaa would start, but Carl pointed out on Scouted that oftentimes when Ibu's had a little bit of a break and comes back in, he can look a little bit ropey. Just technically, his touch doesn't come in quick enough. Some of his decision-making is a little bit off. And then by game 2, he's just back to being, well, the second best centre-back in the league. Other than that, no, I think everything else picked itself. The bench looks stronger. Having Curtis Jones back is absolutely massive, because he's had a fantastic season for us. Having Robbo back is a big boost as well, because it gives us that different option at left back, because for whatever reason, Costas, despite a good run early in the season, just doesn't seem to really be in the manager's plans now. And it just gave us a stronger look. It meant that when he was turning to his bench, he wasn't just staring at the faces of 19 and 20-year-old kids. He was looking at seasoned pros that he knows can come on and give him exactly what he's looking for. And that's exactly what we saw today. All 4 boys that came on, I thought, did really, really well. And that's a massive boost. And look, we're now getting even closer to the return of Diogo Jota, the return of Trent, and the return of Alisson Becker. And once we have those 3 boys back, the only ones who'll be out are Thiago and Joel Matip, who none of us expect to see play for Liverpool again, and Stefan Bajcetic, who's a young boy who, in all likelihood, isn't going to play a bunch towards the end of the season anyway, because as we've seen in past years, Jurgen tends to make the group even smaller as the title race gets down to the nitty-gritty. He tends to shed a bit of the kind of fluff around the squad, the younger players, and he tends to just go with the guys that have earned his trust over multiple seasons. So once we get those 3 lads back, we'll be in seriously strong shape.
Nice to see young Ben Doak back with the match coat on the sideline as well. Nice to see that sort of thing happening. We'll get to the couple of the returning chaps, specifically Curtis Jones, later on, because wow, it's good to have him back, and what a footballer he is. In the little period of time he was on the pitch, you could see what we'd been missing. It's all very, very positive stuff. And Harry, it's tempting. I find it very tempting to take the piss out of Chris Wilder on a regular basis. And it didn't used to be like that. But then he seems to have developed some sort of combination of a sandwich phobia and notions of grandiosity, which I don't know that he fully deserves. Like, I went off earlier on there today because I knew I was going to have to be talking about Chris Wilder, and I wanted to find out, just from my own knowledge, what sort of record the fella has. And, he does have quite a lot of individual honours, a couple of Manager of the Year awards, LMA League 1, LMA League 2, and so on. He does have a EFL League 1 with Sheffield United. He's runner-up with them in the Championship. He has a Football League 2 with Northampton Town, and some a playoff spot with Oxford, won something with Halifax, and then with Alfreton Town, he has a couple of titles there in the non-league or lower leagues. So yes, he is someone who's worked his way up and therefore earned his position to be standing on a sideline in the Premier League at the moment, although it doesn't look like it's going to be for much longer. I find it hard to understand 100% what it is that's going on with him, though, when he's coming off with these, like I say, notions of grandeur. I do think, and I hope what I saw at the end was him having an extra word with Klopp there. I hope he was saying to him, because as we were told by the commentary team, his old man and his uncle are both Liverpool fans. I think he might have grown up on himself, but certainly they were. I hope he was saying, I hope you go on and win it, because I think that would have been the classy thing to do, because it has been a little bit tense in the past unnecessarily. What did you think of the way he set up his team there today? Because I think an awful lot of people, including myself, will have seen some of the names on the bench and thought, oh, well, I would have thought they'd be in the team. Lads like McBurney and Norwood, who we've seen before. What we would have thought would feature. But he went with Gravich, with Bogle, Holgate, Ahmed Hodzic. You'll have to do that one for me, Harry, because the commentator on TNT couldn't do it. Trusty, Robinson, Vinny Souza, Arblaster, Hammer, McAtee, and Brereton Diaz was their lineup. Filling out the names I've mentioned on the bench, there was Slimani who came on, Larucci, Curtis Osula came on, and Brooks, who also came on. Talk to me a little bit about what you made of Sheffield United, the way they set up, what it is they're trying to do, and why it was you think that we didn't take more advantage of the fact that they have such a shabby defensive record.
Yeah, I think their plan, and again, the guest on Rival Recon ahead of the game was saying that he thought that this would be the plan, is to go with the likes of Brereton Diaz, who's on loan, of course, and McAtee, who I think is one of the more talented players in that squad. He's on loan as well. And just like because of the pace of some of those customers in that team, to sit, try and be compact, try and be defensively disciplined, and then counter at speed, which is really their main hope in a game like this. I think that's what they were looking to do as a tactical setup. In terms of the actual team itself, I mean, in terms of the shape, I mean, 3-5-2 has largely been what they've been doing of late. I think they did play a 4 against Arsenal and got absolutely hammered 6-0, so probably abandoned that experiment quickly after that. And yeah, you mentioned Wilder. It's interesting. When he first came into the Premier League, you had that good season with Sheffield United. It was all about the marauding centre-backs, wasn't it? And sort of a pretty interesting sort of a style that he was looking to implement. Like most teams this season, they've got a lot of injuries as well. I think Archer is a big loss for them. I mean, maybe to a lesser extent, but Basham and Baldock are both fan favourites, sort of typical regulars around the squad. I think Egan's out. Ryan Brewster, who obviously was formerly of this parish. There's Tom Davies, former Everton, who's out as well. There's a couple more as well, and there's a lot of players to be without, especially for a squad like theirs. And they haven't spent money when they perhaps should have done in the different windows to reinforce the squad in areas where they needed to. One of the big areas that I think Dave and Carl mentioned on the pod ahead of the game as well, and on Scouted, was just the lack of quality to the goalkeeping position as well. So was equally unhappy that we allowed that guy to have a few saves today. I thought when he did make a save from Virgil and then did the cross on his chest after making a save, I thought it really did sum up that he was expecting a long night for himself, and he did have his moments. But no, I think in terms of their setup, that was largely what I was expecting. Maybe a couple changes here or there that you could have expected, but Hammer's been really good for them. I think that's how you pronounce it. Hammer's been good for them this season. Holgate, somewhat surprised he starts, but aside from that, I think the rest of the team, I wasn't too surprised to see them line up that way. And Robinson, in particular, as the captain, former Liverpool, of course, looked particularly motivated for that game as well.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
Yeah, it's nice to see that fella have the longevity in the career. We all remember him coming through. I believe it was the final game of Rafa Benitez's era where he got his debut as a very, very young man. Yeah. 16-year-old, right? And so I've very fond memories of him. He was a very sort of game lad, as they say, and had a bit of ability and the left foot and all the rest of it. So it's nice to see him carve out a career. It's the kind of thing you hope for anyone who leaves the club, having done some service for it. Dave, if we were to get into the details of the match, by way of just mentioning in passing, we won't do any dwelling on it except to maybe harangue him about at least two big calls. Again with Stuart Atwell, again with the PGMOL substandard stuff. Wouldn't it be lovely? All I want is just one game. And by the way, there was no game-changing moments or anything like that I'm having a moan about. So if people think I'm going over the top, again, I don't really care. Fair play to you. I want to say it. I want to put it on the record that yet again, I'm watching my TV and I'm going, this guy is making some absolutely outrageously bad calls. This guy is yet another example of why this lot are not fit for purpose. Every week, we're saying the same thing. Thankfully, this week, it's not decisions that are costing us results. But, it's there again in your face and it's getting a bit dispiriting.
Well, unlike most referees who look like cops, Stuart Atwell failed the police entrance exam and actually works as a parking warden. In his full-time job. Just some odd decisions, like quite weak decisions at times. The one on Darwin when he chased the ball into the corner and was clearly fouled was a very clear foul, and he's waving at him to get up. Ollie McBurney threw his elbow into Ibu. Now I know he booked him, but surely someone needs to be reviewing that. It's just bizarre. But yeah, Atwell's been around a good while now. So when he referees a game, all you're hoping for is that he doesn't cost you the game, because that's what he's capable of doing, because he can just make really bad decisions. If he's just passively shit, it's fine. And I thought tonight he was basically passively shit.
Passively shit. Sorry, I was in a little, having a little moment thinking about what a wonderful phrase that is. I'm delighted with that, Dave. Thanks very much. I'm going to be teasing that one out for a long time. Can you and I get into the details of the first half, at least up as far as the goal, Harry, and have a look at what happened there, because it's certainly interesting. I thought. Again, I don't know who you guys were listening to who are listening to the show, but I think probably the vast majority of us were listening to the TNT commentary team. And again, it was that ongoing, it seems to be media narrative to try to big up the opposition. But I mean, and I heard the girl, whoever the girl was that they had pitch side, she was asked, what did you make of the Liverpool performance or the game in general? And she was, first half, drab, boring. Second half, more exciting. Okay, thanks for that deep insight. But I didn't find the first half drab or boring at all. I thought there was a great bit of excitement in the game, and I thought there was good creative play by us. It was the usual failing, however. We just had that slight lack of incisiveness. We began with them having a bit of a moment where Caoimhín has to pull off a brilliant point-blank save. Caoimhín Kelleher, by the way, who everyone will know the stat. If you don't, you're one of the few. Allow me to be the one to tell you that Caoimhín has now played as many games as Alisson this season. And that does bear mentioning on a show like this, because it will be a fair reflection on how much we've needed him. It's also a fair reflection on the fact that his presence has helped us to be where we are, which is top of the league. Important little thing to say, because everyone would have said to you, you take Alisson out of this team, we're in trouble. He makes a brilliant save, point blank from McAtee after a flick on from a free kick over on the left. It goes out for a corner, and that corner ended up being pretty dangerous. I think it's a trusty flick on that goes right across the face of goal. And they have their tails right up, and now we're really going to be rocking, and it's all going to be Sheffield United. Nah, not at all. We take a few minutes to get the measure of the game. It does take those few minutes. But on 5 minutes, we have the first opportunity. It's a Mo shot that's tipped over after a great bit of play. It leads to a corner. On 6 minutes from that corner, the ball comes eventually to Joe Gomez. He dinks a lovely ball forward, which is headed narrowly wide by Darwin Núñez. Conor Bradley's involved very much in the attacking in the early goings. A great drive and a pullback on 9 minutes. Another dangerous cross on 10. And then on 11, he has a far more easy opportunity with a bit of time, and he overhits a cross with Darwin in space on 11 minutes. On 13, Mo hits a second one over the top from the corner of the box, same as the earlier one. And then on 14, Darwin has an amazing pullback. Mo plays a through ball that I think looked to all of us as if it had too much pace on it. Darwin somehow makes it his business to get there, hooks it back brilliantly, but nobody was anticipating that A, he would get there, and B, that he would supply such a fantastic cutback. And so the moment goes astray. However, on 16, it is Darwin Núñez who puts us one up. Basically, the keeper has the ball at his feet. He's dallying a little bit. Darwin decides he's going to close him down. His work rate is one of the things that the Kop loves most about him. It's also one of the things that they should love most about him, because it's highly effective. A most underrated part of his game is that incredible work ethic and efficacy as well. And as the keeper dawdles on the clearance and then eventually decides to loft one out, Darwin has a little bit of a jump and manages to force the ball home past the keeper by way of an interesting part of his anatomy. I'll leave it up to you to guess which one it might be. Some people thought it was straight off his golden bollocks. Other people thought it may have been off one buttock or the other. But I don't want to place any taint at all on that goal and just leave it to sit in the memory as 1-0 the Reds. Talk to us about the opening section of the game and how when we got a hold of it, we never really let go of it.
Yeah, I think the opening moments a little bit unsettling to see that. I think from to be undone so openly from a long throw in, never that satisfying to see. As you pointed out, Kelleher now having made that many appearances, I would love to know what his save percentage is, because I think he's the number of big chances I can remember that guy actually coming out with huge saves for us over the past few months has been tremendous, and it's just really great to see. After we gave him justified criticism at times earlier in the season, it looked like someone who was suffering from not getting that consistency of game time, and the way in which he stood up during these matches. And again, you don't expect him to be the one who has to stand up against Sheffield United at home, but he very much did. So yeah, big save there early on, and then there was a dangerous looking corner, wasn't there, shortly after that? Which, again, you're hoping from those sorts of situations. This is a team that is going to rely on those moments. Set pieces are, going to be important for them, despite their record not being that great, that you want to be emphatic in how you defend those from the off and not give them any hope. So to have given those little slices of hope early on that maybe we weren't quite at it was a little bit disappointing. But I think to your point, the fluidity, that was what we were struggling with a little bit, but there was definitely no shortage of effort. I thought even from the off, you could see Diaz looking quite nice and bright. Lots of effort, lots of running around. Darwin doing his usual stuff. I think that chance you mentioned where Salah plays a wonderful ball and Darwin just doesn't give it up and finds a way to cross it in. Just reminded me a little bit of his effort on goal in the last game where he was on the floor with his back to goal and tried to hook it into the net from the floor. That's the kind of player he is. We know that. And I hope that his teammates, who I'm sure they know it by now, realize that it's always worth following him in just in case he does do something particularly mad and manages to pull out a cross or pull out a shot. Know that you can be there for the rebound. So I thought it was not the greatest opening 2 or 3 minutes, but I think we quickly found our way, and you did think, okay, we're going to dominate possession here, which we did. I think there's a record-breaking possession number. I think it's 83 or something percent, which I think apparently is a record in the Premier League. So that's remarkable. But you thought, we were going to be patient here, pick our moments, and the goal itself, I think you described it wonderfully, Trev. I think it's up to the listeners to go back, watch the slow motion replays, have their say on which part of Darwin's anatomy he used to score that goal. But I think it's suitably a goal that was suitably sort of trademark Darwin, and the effort was there, and the unique finish was there as well. And again, another satisfying thing that was the team that a lot of people were relying on, causing some sort of upset this evening. So to be given a gift like that, I'll take 8 more of those. Thank you very much for the rest of the season. To win games 1-0 in the jammiest way imaginable. It was you can never turn down a gift like that. And another goal for Darwin, and that's like 30 goal involvements I think this season.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? In the spirit of what we spoke about earlier on, that is exactly the kind of goal that we want to be seeing on the regular, especially if it's a difference maker. And it's another 30-odd shots thing, 29 shots. Like you say, 84% is what I've got in front of me here of the ball, which is an outrageous amount of dominance, to be absolutely fair. And Dave, to bring you in on this and just to go through the rest of the details of the first half, it is a procession towards their goal in 19 minutes. Connor Bradley skews one fairly well off target after a lovely move and a bit of set-up play from Mac Allister. Darwin has another opportunity, tries to dance through about 11d7 of their players, gets a toe poke away on 21 minutes, but that's saved. 22, the ball dropped to Joe Gomez. He hooks his shot wide from the edge of the box. Gorgeous trend-style crossfield switch by Joe Gomez to Mo on 31 minutes I thought was worthy of a mention, because Joe Gomez spent a huge amount of this game, certainly up until the substitutions particularly, where he was doing the inverted thing, where he was just casually wandering around the left of centre of the midfield, being involved in the play on the regular. And an awful lot of people might not necessarily rate his playmaking skills, but I really do rate the lad and his bravery for being involved in those situations and his ability to continue to be involved in those situations. On 33 minutes, Mac Allister hits one with pace. It's about a yard wide. It's from outside the box. A little bit of a sighter, you might say. On 41, some amazing dribbling by Luis Diaz. A good ball into Gravenberch. The Dutchman swivels and hits a fairly tame shot straight at the keeper. 42 minutes, great bit of play, ends with a Dom Szoboszlai hit, which is tipped over for a corner. And I think they add 4 minutes to the end of the first half, in which we manage another opportunity, a bit of keep ball. Luis Diaz takes on a shot from distance and he drags it kind of wide of the left-hand post. And then, just at the death of the first half, like at the very start of the first half, they have a little bit of a moment to give them some sort of hope. It's Bogle this time at the back post, Queeveen with another great save, and then a scramble to gather. It resulted, I think, from a bad clearance. It could have been Mac Allister. I wasn't 100% sure. I only saw a replay from after that event. Like I say, an absolute procession to their goal from after that early minute one opportunity and until that late 40 whatever that was 8 minute opportunity. So any kind of narrative that suggests otherwise is it's not only nonsense, but it's defying the statistics, which we've already touched on, myself and Harry, early on.
Oh, we absolutely dominated. Like, they had those couple of early chances and then it was a procession, and they couldn't get out of their own third, let alone their own half. We were winning the ball every single time they had a touch. They got maybe 2 passes and we just took it off them. But it was frustrating because we got some really good joy with Conor Bradley wide right, overlapping and taking his man on and getting the ball across. And Joe inverting into midfield was allowing us that extra man in there. So we always had an extra man to play to. But then we started inverting Bradley as well. And Gravenberch was drifting wide to the right. And they're packing the centre of the field with a back 5 and 4 in midfield. And then we're packing it even further by shoving both of our fullbacks in there and moving just one of the midfielders out. And I felt like they were there to be opened up if we had just kept getting the ball wide and shifting them about. I think we lost quite a bit with Mac Allister not being that bit more advanced because he was playing in that number 6 position. He's not as influential in our final third build-up when he's in that deeper role. So between not having him there and then not retaining some width, I felt like we made it a little bit easy for them and a bit harder for ourselves in terms of just being able to open them up and create a real opportunity. Like, we did create some half-decent chances. You mentioned the one where Darwin sort of wormed his way into space, and it's a weak left-footed shot. The Szoboszlai chance is at best a half chance. Mo has a third of a chance where he tries to bend it in the corner. The Gravenberch one I felt like could have been a good opportunity if he'd just taken a minute, or well, not a minute, but like a split second to fully assess his options and not just decided to shoot. Now, he's unfortunate when he shoots because his left foot goes from underneath him and he slips. So it's a very weak shot. But I felt like if he'd just taken that split second to look at the players making movement around him, there was a simple ball back to Diaz who'd gone for the overlap and he didn't even see it. I don't even think he considered it.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
Sports Social Podcast Network.